This next one is a story about my mom that I just got to know in 2023, and I am almost 45 years old, so I'm still uncovering a lot of their stories. In this story, I will say the word 도시락, which is a Korean word for packed lunch, and it's usually eaten during a mealtime or during lunchtime, consisting of rice and some side dishes. Refuge in a lunchbox. When we long for what's no longer, when we fear what we won't remember, we seek for refuge, a place for us, where safety is sealed, protected, not fearing its drifting. From 1989 to 2001, my Amma worked in a factory here in Michigan, cutting leather pieces for interior of American cars, perfectly shaped puzzles to fit smoothly and shiny, just months after immigrating from Seoul, Korea, a new way of being. Inside a dark, windowless space with stale air, enveloped in oil and dust, Amma worked without language, without community. Her eyes glued to the fringed lines of hide that blanket the entire steel table, with the X-Acto knife in hand, hands that used to walk her daughters to school each morning. Nothing stopped her from making a living here. Even if they tried, she tried harder. Because she is an innovator, a protector, provider, my mom, she had mastered the language of gestures, rhythm in speech, how softly or loudly a voice carries, the coldness or warmth in someone's gaze, the long pauses, laughter, shrug of a shoulder, a smile, and yes, even silence is a language. I'm not sure why it took me this long to ask her this question I have been waiting to ask. Maybe ignorance is bliss? I don't know. So I ask, how did you do it? How did you survive? 도시락, she said, with glossy eyes and a grin, as if she was taken back, images permanently planted somewhere between memory and reality. Was and is. My 도시락 saved me. Scrunched over in her hand-me-down red sports car from her sister, she felt tall. In Korea, Amma would have been the 32-year-old young woman who relished on cooking, poetry, singing, raising her daughters with undivided attention. Before getting lost in the hustle of American living, before clothing herself in someone else's identity, before home was there and not here. Lunchtime in her car saved her. It was the only sliver of time in her mundane 13-hour days where she could breathe, unclench her jaws, and let the sound of Korean roll off her tongue, naturally like breathing, like meditation. Usually consisting of white rice, a few banchans, and kimchi, and a side of roasted seaweed, she sat in her car with her 도시락 on her lap and let out a big sigh. She ate while listening to an old church sermon tape that eventually ran the course of its life, from the constant rewinding and fast-forwarding and pausing to nod, or flipping through her favorite fashion magazine she had saved up to buy at the Korean store, a monthly indulgence. Dog-eared on her favorite pages for cafes to visit one day, clothes to wear one day, dreaming of another version of herself one day. Savoring every bit of the rice kernel, Amma closed her 도시락 as she looked at the blinking clock. It was time. From the spice of her homemade kimchi to the roasted scent of her warm 보리차, it was these simple pleasures of home that nourished her, joy even. that while she may have left home, home never left her. That sometimes we are saved by a place of refuge. When my Oma first told me this story, it was the summer of 2023. We were visiting her old workplace after more than 25 years to see if it was still there. The almost empty, almost eerie parking lot prompted her to share. It was hard not to notice the residual sorrow in her eyes that maybe was there all along. And here is what I've come to know. That grief is not a thing of the past, no matter the time. Joy is not muted by grief if we don't let it. And in order to allow that spark, that joy to rise and illuminate, you must go back to where it all began. Before you, before me. Distance makes us desire to go back so that we can do it again differently. But maybe that going back is going forward, moving forward. We all have ancestors who went before us, and whether you know them by name or not, they know yours, and their stories live inside of you. You just have to not turn away, listen closely, and pull them out of you like a blanket to hold, like a sword to fight, like it's your own voice, power, calling you to live in resilience, joy, and in worth. I don't know if I have time for one more or one more. Okay.